Good morning, Twin Cities. Welcome to Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. I'm Paige with the Real Estate Collaborative, and I am joined today with Meghan with the Real Estate Collaborative, also BOTFG, Boots on the Ground. And we are going to talk today, our first two episodes, we talked about what makes REC different in terms of residential real estate and, you know, how we do things differently, more transparency, no dual agency, no broker's admin fee, and flat dollar amount commissions, among other things. We talked a lot about that. The other piece of the work that we do at the Real Estate Collaborative is housing justice. We really highlight the fact that we're a residential real estate company, and we work on housing justice issues, in part because our industry has a pretty poor track record in terms of steering, redlining, blockbusting, racially restrictive covenants, all these things that happened decades ago and yet still really impact our cities and neighborhood segregation. I think, you know, our industry has issued apologies about some of this bad behavior, but most companies don't go beyond that. And Meghan and I were just talking before we started today, and there are companies out there that are doing good work for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think it's our opinion that they're just not going far enough. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how REC works in the housing justice space. And, you know, we really consider housing justice to be social justice, racial justice. Everything begins at home. We think of it as housing is a front end solution for folks. Without housing, the other outcomes of success like education, employment, healthcare are really, really poor. People need housing. And of course, we're in the midst of a housing crisis, and some would call it a housing tragedy. So what can we do as a real estate company to just affect some sort of change or educate people about the problem and how they can get involved?
Yes. And I think that we both come, to housing justice from two different areas. We have been and are both homeowners and a renter, and also as a realtor. And so, for the listeners out there who, no matter what kind of housing you have, whether you wish it were better or you're so grateful for where you are, that makes you a housing advocate. Mm-hmm. You either want to fight for better housing, more housing. I shouldn't say either. And if you are thankful and in a good spot, fight for housing so that others can have that same right. Place they call home. And then as a realtor, Paige and I have seen so many different houses throughout the Twin Cities. And I really don't believe you can be in this industry and not be a housing advocate. Right. And want not only more, because we see how hard it is for buyers to find a house and get a house. And that can go down, we can go down depending on what kind of financing they have and the roadblocks that might unjustly come from that. Mm-hmm. But then also just to see the differences in housing options for people. Mm-hmm. And I think being a realtor makes you a housing advocate.
Well, I think it should. Yeah. I feel like, when I was with the big box broker when I first started, and I was with them for 15, 16 years, so a long time, I can remember at a sales meeting, our manager was talking about affordable housing and the crisis. And this was probably back in like 2018, 2019. And there were probably 30 of us agents there. It was the Tuesday morning meeting. And I can't tell you how many people said, what can we do? What can we do? We want to help. We want to help. And I will just say that those same people are still out there, and we reach out to them and we kind of don't hear anything. We say, here's how you can help.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's a capacity issue or it's a fear issue. You know, I think it's hard to do things new. And I think sometimes people get scared of activism because then they feel like they need to talk
Mm-hmm.
and talk publicly, and maybe they don't know enough about the issue where they feel like they can talk about it intelligently. I'm not sure, but
Yep.
I will speak, and Megan, you and I have talked about this, that it's been we started REC 2.5 years ago in 2022, 23, 2023,
Yep.
April of 2023.
Yes.
And I really thought the combination of, you know, residential sales and housing justice, I really thought a lot of realtors that I knew and that you know would join us and say, gosh, this is so cool. We've been looking for an opportunity like this. And, you know, we feel really good about how we help people buy homes and sell homes. But we also see, to your point, this other problem where, you know, maybe we should be advocating for more housing in more areas at all different price points. And there was not a flood of realtors that, I mean, there was you, there was Tara, there was Irish.
Yep.
And then it kind of stopped.
Yep.
And I, you know, honestly, I mean, I have, you know, a pretty close group of realtor friends. I will say a lot of them didn't even ask me questions about REC.
Yeah.
When I would be with them, like on a long weekend.
Yeah.
And I was kind of shocked by that too.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's about. I think maybe it's challenging the status quo. People aren't comfortable with it. These are really good people. So it's not that.
Yep.
But it would be good to get more realtors involved, like you said, advocating for more housing.
Yep. And just like you said, we know a lot of great realtors, and we're part of, Paige and I are both on the Affordable Housing Task Force for St. Paul Realtors Association, and we do a book club, and that is wonderful. And I think you and I both want action. We want to like do something, impact housing.
Right.
And I do think that is scary for folks who don't have that drive, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, but we also try and make it so easy.
I know.
So it
Yeah.
is tricky. I just remember when I first got my license, you know, you do a, so this was what, 8 years ago. And I think I talked to someone, and I think they told me that they still do this now, where we were in the new realtor meeting, and they were going through all sorts of different information, and they put up a picture, and there was a picture of like a smaller, like 1950s Rambler, and then a new build, a big one, looked, you know, triple the size of this other one, and then another 1950s Rambler next to it. And they said, what is wrong with this picture? And in my head, I thought, oh, those two houses have this huge monstrosity in between them. And someone raised their hand and said, that new build, the two houses that are on each side of that new build are going to bring down the value of the new build home.
Oh.
And so in their minds, these two little Ramblers were the problem.
Was this a group of realtors?
Yeah, all new realtors.
Oh, gotcha.
And the person said, that's right. That those two houses. And I thought from that moment, oh my gosh, what have I done? I'm in the wrong industry. What? I am like fighting for those two little houses. And I'm not saying if you have a new build that's wrong, but we have to also think out of the box of like property taxes. It's all about making money, and that's not true. Home is so much more than that.
Right.
And we need different types of housing everywhere.
Yep.
And so anyway, it just made me think again, I'm just so grateful to be part of the Real Estate Collaborative, because we do all want to advocate for more and connect with our housing partners out there, which we'll talk about in another episode, the nonprofits that we connect with. But yeah.
Yeah, I think a couple of thoughts as you were talking. One is, we've talked about having T-shirts made. So we have T-shirts that say Legalize Housing. It's through Twin Cities YIMBY, Yes in My Backyard, that we're involved with. And we talked, we're going to, for the first 3 people that drop us a note on our website, we will send you a Legalize Housing T-shirt, and they're pretty cool. They're black and white, big white lettering. They're nice. And you can find us at therecolab.com. That's THERE as in real estate, COLLAB as in boy, collab. It's short for collaborative. So the recolab.com. This always takes it feels like 5 minutes to say this whole thing. And one thing that Mark said the other day, Mark is a new agent that just joined us this week. He's like, have you guys ever thought of Recola?
Oh,
and we had, which was so funny. So that's one way to remember our website is Recola, but it's not spelled that way. So maybe that's not super helpful. But anyway, go up to the right-hand corner on our website, therecolab.com. There's a Let's Talk button. Fill out the form and send us your address, and we'll get a T-shirt. Give us your T-shirt size, and the first 3 people to do that, we will send you a T-shirt. The other thing I was going to say, if there are realtors listening right now and you're interested in getting involved, reach out to us. You don't have to join the Real Estate Collaborative. We are happy to have you advocate for more housing when we do community events and go to city council meetings, planning commission meetings. When we have events, we would love to have, for lack of a better word, more foot soldiers on in YIMBY, because we really do need more housing. It's awful. I live in an area where I see homeless people almost every day, and it's heartbreaking, and it shouldn't be that way in a country as rich as ours at all.
Yep.
And what else? We're about to go to break, and what else should we say? Oh, I mean, you can find us on podcasts, on the YouTube. Brett is like, you can do it. Keep going.
You got it, Paige.
And of course, at our website, therecolab.com. And you are listening to Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. And we will get back to you in a few minutes.
Oh, wrecking ball, you steal the show. Every move you make.
Welcome back to the second segment of Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. We're going to continue our conversation about Rec's work with housing justice, and I'm going to turn it over to Megan.
Yeah, we were talking at the break about our first 2 episodes, and I know if you had a chance to listen to those, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you didn't, you can always find those on our website, therecolab.com. But it was interesting in hearing from folks who did listen to that. In the first one, we kind of spoke about the real estate collaborative, and then the second, what makes us different from other brokerages. And the feedback that I heard was, oh, I've heard you talk about the real estate collaborative and how you are different from other brokerages before. And that clicked. I finally got it. But there were a few people that were like, gosh, real estate still seems so confusing to me.
Yeah.
And that is sad to hear.
Right.
It shouldn't be difficult. And we really do want folks to know that you are in the driver's seat as a buyer and a seller, and we're here working for you.
Right.
And so, again, if you listen to those 2 episodes and have questions, please let us know, or any feedback, go on and tell us. And what else were we talking about?
I think our point was, if you send us a message on our website, there's a Let's Talk button, and you have a question, we are not going to try to rope you in,
Yes.
and we're not going to market to you a ton or sell your information. We do put out a newsletter every other month that you might get, but that is the extent of it.
Yes.
So you don't have to worry about that, because really we are here to answer people's questions and to be a resource about housing, whether it's rental or buying. In fact, on our website, on the main page, if you scroll down, there's some resources about renting as well.
Mm-hmm. And I remember when Matt and I were looking for our first house, I was very much afraid of realtors. And I thought, if I even contact one and I ask a question, I'm signing up for something huge, and
Right.
I just have one question.
They're
I don't
never
want
going to leave me alone.
Yeah, and so I just want people to know that is not the case. You can ask a question.
Yeah.
We would love to engage in a conversation with you. It is free. I always assumed, I don't know, I guess this is
you always assume that people may want to get paid for their time,
right? Or but me even taking a moment of their time, like there's something I must have to pay for that in some way right away. I was just always afraid to ask the question. That's probably my problem. But if there are others out there, don't be afraid. Paige and I and the rest of the team at the Real Estate Collaborative.
We're not scary.
No, we just we'll talk about housing all day long.
Yep.
So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yep. And then we were also talking during break about Legalize Housing and the T-shirt. So we have 3 T-shirts. First 3 people that send us a message on our website, therecolag.com, Let's Talk button, will get one of these Legalize Housing T-shirts. I was going to bring one today for the YouTube video. So pretend I'm holding something up, but I forgot. And then you were saying, well, maybe we should explain what legalized housing means, which I think is a really good point, and it really ties into the housing justice piece.
Yes, because you wear that shirt and get lots of questions.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like I was telling you yesterday, I was wearing it and 3 people in my building stopped me, "Love your T-shirt." And I'm like, "I'll get you one." And they're like, "Awesome."
Yeah.
Because we want people to be wearing them, and it's kind of a public education piece, and you do get people stopping you. What does it mean?
So what is your quick 1 minute, 2 minute response to folks when you see them?
It's legalized housing, that it's really hard to get housing built in this country because of all the zoning restrictions and building codes. And it can take years and years. As we know, we're just going to mention Rice Creek Commons and Arden Hills has been going on for 10 years, the planning process, and they are now starting over. And millions of dollars later, not to mention like opportunity costs and people hours and all of that. And it's kind of crazy. So that's what legalized housing means. It means streamline the process. We need to get houses on the ground.
Right.
And there's state legislation that has been proposed the past 2 sessions. It's going to be back. And local municipalities don't like it because it takes some of the zoning control away from them. And it basically says that municipalities cannot have single family only zoning any longer, that there has to be rules to include more high density. And it's not saying every town is going to need to have, a 20-story apartment building. It's not saying that at all. It's just kind of saying, let the private market do what it needs to do to provide housing for people. And it's a bipartisan issue, which is kind of great. I think of it as like maybe the great connector of our time. Housing, because Republicans want less regulation. Democrats want less regulation in this instance. Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that?
I was just going to break it down, because what we're talking about, a single family home for folks, because maybe, your picture the one house on the plot of land in different counties and cities that you're in. That amount of land varies, but we're talking about could you make that home into a duplex, a multifamily? And right now you can't in a lot of places. And so as housing becomes more and more expensive, and folks are getting more creative on how to stretch their dollars. You know, sharing a home, sharing a space, putting an ADU in your backyard. As our parents are aging out of their homes, you know, people wanting to add an ADU as an accessory dwelling unit on their land, so they can care for their parents. You know, just opening up options, but we cannot do that unless we can, you know, legalize housing, change the zoning laws, and allow for more creativity in building and using what you already have.
And these kinds of conversations, just so people know, are happening all over the country.
Yes.
It's not just in the Twin Cities and Minnesota. And the Legalize Housing T-shirts, there's I think he's a representative, Spencer Igo.
Up north.
Yeah, he's a young guy. He's a Republican. And I heard him speak several months ago. I think you were there as well. And he was talking about, let's legalize starter homes.
Yes.
Again, it's almost impossible to build starter homes anymore in this country, which is the foundation of the American dream.
Yes.
And how do we get that back?
Right.
And
people who are listening might remember the Sears homes that would come and you could build them. And people are talking about that again.
I have a whole file of Sears homes plans, probably like 60 different home styles. And they're all like 900 square feet, 1,100 square feet. And lots of people bought those and had lots of babies and lived in them comfortably. And the babies turned into human beings and people and adults, and they're fine. They're well adjusted. You know, I think we've gotten so used to needing so much space, or thinking we need a lot of space, which certainly some people do. And if you can, that's great. But it would be really nice to see starter homes being built again. Really nice.
And I mean, pretty amazing now. If any of our listeners, like, I don't know if you went to the state fair or if you go to any outdoor events, they do have like the container homes there that you can tour. Yard homes. I mean, we're talking pretty energy efficient, sustainable. I mean, they're
easy
beautiful.
to build, quick to build. Quick to build. Right. And don't have to be on a permanent foundation necessarily. And so there are lots of people in the world doing all these creative things around housing, and the government kind of stands in our way from putting them in the ground. And that's a problem. One thing I'm going to read, and this is, you can go to our website and go under blogs. There should be this blog. It's called Home Matters. And this is Rec's housing justice side of what we do. And we put this together when we first started. And I'm just going to read our intro to Home Matters. Why does home matter? And we start off with a quote from Minnesota Realtors magazine from May of 2019. Although Emma was a skilled manager and administrator, running a real estate business was about a lot more than transactions and profit margins. It was about helping people meet a fundamental need, finding a place to call home. Now, Emma was actually the founder of what is Edina Realty. It started in Edina. I want to say she started it in the 50s or 60s. It was a long time ago, with like $500 or something. And now, of course, it's one of the biggest brokers in Minnesota for sure, and part of Warren Buffett's Home Services of America. But I found that quote to be I just wish we could get back to that as an industry. And then we go on, and stable housing is foundational for all other outcomes of success. In addition to providing basic shelter, housing that is safe, stable, and affordable creates the foundation for improved physical and mental health, increased access to education and employment opportunities, and greater financial stability. In Minnesota, it is estimated that as of 2023, we are over 100,000 housing units, rental and owned, short for those on the lower income of the economic spectrum. This shortage grows year after year and is the major contributing factor to skyrocketing housing values. Put simply, housing matters. It matters just like healthcare matters. It matters like clean water. It matters like healthy food.
Right. And so that is the legalized housing. We need to be able to build more homes to make up for that already 100,000 housing units short.
Yeah.
And that, yes.
And housing is basic economics, supply and demand, like everything else. So we'll continue this conversation our next episode, and we hope you'll tune in. This is Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. And you can find us at therecolab.com. Drop us a note, and the first 3 of you will get a free t-shirt. All right. Take care. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you next Sunday.